All right, so get ready because we're going to do a deep dive into the wonders of the world.
Awesome.
Um, and looks like, based on what you sent over, we've got some natural wonders, some man-made marvels, and some hidden gems.
Yeah, it looks like you're really interested in not just what these places are, but like the stories behind them, the history,
Hmm.
the human element, even the environmental challenges.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's what makes them so fascinating.
All right. Absolutely.
So, uh, first off, I think we've got to start with something iconic, right? The Grand Canyon.
Of course.
Now, everyone knows it's big, but one thing that just blew my mind was reading about the Great Unconformity,
Oh, yeah.
where it's like 1 billion years worth of rock is just missing.
Right, just gone.
Geologists are still debating, what happened there. It's like this huge mystery just hidden in plain sight.
It really is, and it's amazing how even in a place as well studied as the Grand Canyon, there's still these big mysteries, these big questions waiting to be answered.
Totally. And that sense of discovery, I think, is what makes these places so captivating.
Right.
Okay, speaking of mysteries, how about the Aurora Borealis,
Oh, yeah.
the Northern Lights?
A classic.
Those dancing lights in the sky. I mean, have you ever? I always wondered what causes the different colors.
Yeah, so it's all about the different types of gas particles that are up in the atmosphere and then how they collide with those charged particles from the sun.
Yeah.
So like oxygen gives you that really vibrant green
Okay.
that we often associate with the northern lights, and then nitrogen can create some of those red and purples that we see sometimes.
Wow. So each display is like its own unique thing based on what's happening up there.
Exactly, yeah, like a fingerprint of the atmosphere at that moment.
That's so cool. Okay, from
Yeah.
celestial wonders to something a little more down to earth, Victoria Falls,
Oh, yes.
or as the materials you sent call it, the smoke that thunders.
Scare dramatic. What's striking about Victoria Falls is just the sheer size, but also the way it's formed. It's actually this whole series of waterfalls and gorges that have been carved out over millions of years by the Zambezi River.
I mean, talk about the power of water.
Yeah, it's incredible to think about how that water over time, has shaped that landscape.
And people actually swim right at the edge in the Devil's Pool.
I know. I don't know if I'd be brave enough.
I don't think I would be either, but
But it's pretty amazing.
it's very adventurous.
Yeah.
Okay, from
What?
the rush of the waterfalls to something a little more serene, the Great Barrier Reef.
Ah, yes. A very different kind of wonder.
Yeah, and from your notes, it seems like you're really fascinated by all the diversity of life there.
Oh, absolutely. Did you know that the Great Barrier Reef is actually made up of almost 3,000 individual reefs and over 900 islands?
Wow, I did not realize it was that big.
Yeah, it's this vast, intricate ecosystem.
That's incredible. And speaking of interconnectedness, I think it's impossible to talk about the reef without talking about climate change.
Right. Unfortunately, the rising ocean temperatures and the acidification are causing so much damage, bleaching the corals, threatening the balance of this whole ecosystem.
It's a reminder that as we explore these places, we have a responsibility to protect them too.
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay, so we've explored the power of nature. Are you ready to dive into some man-made marvels?
Oh, yeah, let's see what human ingenuity can do.
All right, first up, the Great Wall of China.
A classic.
It's not just the length that's impressive, it's that it was built over centuries by all these different dynasties.
I know. Can you imagine the effort and skill it took to build something on that scale without all the modern technology we have today?
Yeah, and one thing that I think often gets overlooked is that it wasn't just one wall, it was this whole network.
Exactly. Yeah. Walls, fortifications, watchtowers, constantly evolving over time.
Right.
It really speaks to how human societies adapt
Right.
and respond to, their needs changing.
Totally. And speaking of adapting to challenging environments, how about Machu Picchu?
Oh, up in the Andes.
In the Andes Mountains, I can't imagine getting those massive stones up there and building this whole city in such a rugged landscape.
The engineering is just mind-blowing. The Incas used this technique called ashlar masonry, where they fit those stones together so precisely without any mortar.
Wow.
And we still don't fully understand how they did it.
It's amazing what these places, they really challenge our assumptions about what's possible.
But for sure.
Okay, from a lost city high in the mountains to a monument of love built from gleaming white marble.
The Taj Mahal.
It's more than just a pretty picture, right?
Oh, so much more. I mean, the story behind its construction is just as remarkable as the building itself.
Yeah.
It took over 20,000 artisans and laborers more than 2 decades to build the Taj Mahal. It was this massive undertaking driven by Emperor Shah Jahan's grief over losing his wife, Mumtaz Mahal.
Wow, it makes you think about the power of love and loss and how we express those emotions.
Definitely.
And speaking of unveiling hidden stories, how about Petra?
Ah, the city carved into those sandstone cliffs.
What's so remarkable to me is that it was this thriving trade center, a crossroads of cultures.
Right, and you can see that blend of influences in the architecture, the Nabatean rock-cut tombs, the Roman-style theaters.
It's a reminder that these civilizations that we think of as lost, you know, they were once vibrant and connected to the wider world.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've seen these really grand expressions of human endeavor, but you know what I'm really excited to dig into?
What's that?
The hidden gems, those places off the beaten path.
Oh, yeah, you seem to have a knack for finding those.
Let's start with Zhangjiajie National Forest in China.
Oh, those sandstone
They
pillars.
almost look like something out of a science fiction film.
They really do. You know, the floating mountains in Avatar, they were
Huh.
actually inspired by Zhangjiajie.
That's what I read.
And what's even more incredible is that those pillars were formed over millions of years by erosion by water and wind.
Wow.
It's amazing what nature can do with enough time.
And speaking of nature creating surreal landscapes, how about Salar de Uyuni in Bolivia?
The world's largest salt flat.
And during the rainy season, it becomes this giant mirror reflecting the sky.
It's a photographer's dream. You can capture these incredible distorted perspectives, play with the boundaries between earth and sky.
It just looks unreal.
And beyond the visual spectacle, it also has this fascinating history. It was once part of a giant prehistoric lake, and the salt crust is so thick, in some places, it's over 10 meters deep.
A prehistoric lake. Wow, that puts it all in perspective.
Yeah, it's pretty humbling.
Okay, from a landscape that reflects the sky to one that's just filled with waterfalls and turquoise lakes.
Where are we going now?
Plitvice Lakes National Park in Croatia.
How beautiful.
What really caught my eye were the wooden walkways that wind through the park.
Oh, yeah, they look so peaceful, so serene.
And it's not just beautiful, it's also a really great example of how natural processes create these incredible formations. You know, those lakes and waterfalls, they're constantly changing as the water erodes the limestone and creates new barriers and cascades.
It's a dynamic landscape, always evolving.
It sounds like you could spend days exploring those trails and just keep finding something new.
You probably could.
Okay, last stop on our Hidden Gems tour, Antelope Canyon.
Ah, another photographer's favorite.
This one really stood out to me with its dramatic interplay of light and shadow.
Yeah, those beams of sunlight filtering through the narrow canyon illuminating the sandstone walls. It's really magical.
It is, and it's important to remember that it's also a sacred site for the Navajo people.
That's right. They have a deep connection to this land.
It's a good reminder that as we marvel at these natural wonders, we need to be respectful of the cultures and communities that hold them sacred.
Absolutely, a really important point.
Okay, so we've journeyed from vast canyons to hidden canyons, from ancient cities to surreal landscapes.
What a trip.
And we've only just scratched the surface. Are you ready to go even deeper into the stories behind these wonders?
Absolutely. I'm ready when you are.
All right, let's do it.
Let's go. It's amazing. You know, we've been talking about all these places and how they make you feel this sense of wonder, but they also make you think about our responsibility to these places, too.
Yeah, it's like you were saying before about the Great Barrier Reef, seeing the impact of climate change. It makes you realize we need to be really mindful about how we travel.
Absolutely. And it's not just about climate change. It's about respecting the cultures and communities that are connected to these places. You know, we're visitors and our actions have an impact.
For sure. So how can we be more mindful travelers?
Yeah.
I know you're a big advocate for sustainable tourism.
Well, I mean, there are so many things we can do. We can choose eco-friendly accommodations, try to minimize or waste support local businesses. It's all about making choices that benefit both the environment and the people who live there.
So it really comes down to being aware of our impact and taking
Yeah.
those small steps.
Exactly. And sometimes those small steps can lead to bigger changes. You know, like at Machu Picchu, they've implemented a ticketing system to limit the number of visitors each day to help protect the site.
Oh, that's a great idea. And I've read about similar things in other places, like limiting the number of boats allowed near the Great Barrier Reef to protect the coral.
Right. It's a delicate balance between letting people experience these amazing places and making sure they're around for future generations.
And speaking of preserving cultural heritage, we were talking about Petra earlier. It's incredible that a whole city was lost for centuries.
It really shows how important archaeology is to uncover and protect these sites. Imagine if Petra had stayed hidden, we would have missed out on so much history.
It makes you wonder what else is out there just waiting to be discovered.
Oh, there's going to be so much more.
And that sense of discovery is part of what makes this all so exciting, right?
Absolutely.
I've been thinking about all the places we've talked about and how they each offer something different. Some are about connecting with nature, some are about human ingenuity, and some are just pure mystery and adventure.
And that's what makes the world so fascinating. There's something out there for everyone.
It's true.
Whether you're drawn to the vastness of the Grand Canyon or the intimate beauty of Antelope Canyon, there's a wonder out there just waiting for you.
They're like mirrors to our soul, these places,
I like that.
reflecting our curiosity, our creativity, our desire to understand the world.
And that connection we feel to these places, even if we haven't been there ourselves, it speaks to their power. They transcend physical boundaries.
I've been trying to decide, if I could only choose one to experience in person, which one would it be? It's such a hard decision.
I know it is. They're all so incredible.
Okay, I think I've got it. For me, it would have to be the aurora borealis. To stand under those lights, feel the vastness of space above you, that just seems like an experience that would stay with you forever.
I can see why you choose that. It's truly awe-inspiring, a reminder of the beauty and mystery beyond our everyday world. But I'm curious, what about our listener out there?
Yes, if you could only choose one of these wonders to experience in person, which one would it be and why?
Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear your thoughts.
So many different reasons why someone might pick one over the other.
Right. It's true. It's like these places, they touch something different in each of us.
Like someone might be really drawn to that ancient history of Petra,
Right.
and someone else is like, no, I want to see those otherworldly salt flats in Bolivia.
Exactly. And they're both totally valid. It's all about that connection, that spark of fascination.
As we've been talking, I've been thinking about how these wonders, they impact us, not just when we're there, but like in the long run.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like these experiences, they shape how we see the world.
Like imagine standing on the edge of the Grand Canyon,
Oh, wow.
feeling that immensity of time.
It puts things in perspective, doesn't it?
Totally. Or seeing the aurora borealis, like that dance of light and color.
It makes you realize there's so much more out there than just our everyday lives.
Right. And then you think about exploring Petra, that city carved into the cliffs.
It's incredible.
Makes you appreciate the ingenuity of those ancient civilizations.
Absolutely.
And those hidden gems like Zhangjiajie National Forest.
Oh, yeah.
It's like stepping into another world.
It reminds us that there's still so much out there to discover.
We talked about responsible travel, but I think these places, they also inspire us to be responsible in a bigger way.
What do you mean?
But when you see the Great Barrier Reef and how fragile it is,
Right.
or the impact of time on places like Machu Picchu, it makes you want to protect these places.
Absolutely. Not just for us, but for everyone who comes after us.
Exactly. So it's not just about taking pictures, it's about leaving a positive impact.
Even a small one.
After this deep dive, I feel like I've learned so much, not just about these places, but about our world as a whole.
I think that's the best part of exploring it. Opens up your mind to all these new possibilities and connections.
It's like we took a journey not just across the world, but across time and culture.
And that's what makes life so amazing.
Yeah.
All these discoveries waiting to be made.
Well said. Well, I want to thank you for being such an awesome guide on this adventure.
It's been my pleasure. Honestly, always love talking about these things.
And of course, a huge thanks to our listener. We hope this deep dive has inspired you to explore these wonders even more.
Whether it's in person or just doing your own research.
And remember, we want to hear from you. Which wonder would you choose and why? Let us know in the comments.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep wondering, and keep seeking out those experiences that connect you to the beauty of our world.
Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.